Hi, in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about concept maps. We're going to be doing a few of those concept maps throughout this course. And some of you may not know what those are, or maybe you think it's a mind map, or you may have played with this and you may not have. But today I just want to kind of go over how to do them and what I'm expecting to see out of your concept maps. Now, for those of you, again, you might have heard the term mind map or concept map. There is a difference. A mind map is more of a creative process where you're writing down ideas and you're kind of moving very fast and coming up with sort of a brainstorming technique to come up with ideas and to show kind of an inner relationship between those ideas. Concept maps are a little bit more disciplined, where the mind maps are a little bit more free flowing. Concept maps are pretty much that. You're going to take concepts that you've learned or been exposed to, that you've conceptualized over a period of time, and you're going to put those on a piece of paper and have a graphic representation of what those concepts look like. And I'll show you an example one in just a moment. So that's the big fundamental difference between those two items. So be careful there. All right, well, let me show you what we have here. I'm going to show you an old concept map that I did. And they are a great way to, if you're learning a new topic or, maybe studying for an exam, I always kind of did concept maps in there to help me study and visualize those ideas, those chunks of learning. Now, for this assignment, the assignments that you have throughout this course where you are using concept maps, they're going to be centered around a certain concept, obviously. So you might have a couple of modules. Let's say, for example, in the first two modules of the course, they're centered around the budget and savings process. That is what the concepts are going to be covered that you'll be doing with the concept maps. And that'll be kind of going forward throughout the rest of the course. So there'll be very kind of prescribed areas that you'll be mapping out. All right, so kind of what does a map look like? Well, here's one that I did a little while ago, and this was on something called operational dashboards in healthcare. And that was my main topic. And from that, there were supporting areas. So you can kind of see I use some colors in there, which I want to see from you. You want to, this is where it gets fun. You get to pick your colors, you get to pick your shapes that you want to use. The key point, be consistent with your shapes and your colors to really, I guess, signify certain things. So in this case, I had my main topic, which is right there, that big dark gray oval, okay? And then I had my supporting areas, these blue ovals. And then the supporting topics had these kind of discrete learning points or these discrete operational points or supporting, I guess, pieces of knowledge in there. So you would want to have those, and I used little yellow squares just because I wanted to. And some of these, the little yellow squares, the ones that supported these major ideas, they had also little branches out onto themselves. So I decided to use a circle. So that's what I did. So all I ask is that you be consistent. If you have like you can call it like a level one, if you will. Think of it this way, kind of a level one idea concept, and then the supporting concepts maybe are called a level two. Just I'm making this up. But think of it that way, kind of the bigger and then smaller and then even smaller pieces in there as well. So be consistent with your shapes and your colors just to make it organized. And that way you visually can see pretty quickly what those things do. Now, where mine got really busy is where I try to show the interrelationships between certain things, whether it was the supporting areas or even the tertiary supporting areas like my little green circles. But do try to show those relationships where they exist, maybe where two ideas kind of work together, especially like in whatever concept that we're talking about for this concept map. And if they don't exist, that's okay too. Don't force a relationship that is not there. And you'll want to do this on a single page. Now, obviously, you're looking at this, and this is This doesn't look like anything that we use in Microsoft. This is a application, a web-based application, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. What we have here is something called Lucid Chart, and that is one that I use. It is, you can see the address right up here. It's just www.lucidchart.com. You can Google it, they're all over the place. And they do have a couple of, they obviously have these very fancy ones that you can do that cost money, subscription fees, etc. You do not need to do that. There is a free version out there that you can do, and that's more than enough. I think the free version limits you to the shapes, these little shapes here. Um, so be careful about that, but I think it's going to give us plenty of shapes if you decide to use the free version. Also, just happen to know here that one other important part that I missed when I was talking about shapes and colors is that you want to, when you have these arrows kind of showing the connections or the support of a certain idea, you will want to put these kind of these action words in there, if you will. So let's say in this case, I said decision support was improved by these following items. So that helps the reader understand, okay, so I'm going to see a bunch of stuff that helps to improve that. So for example, you could have the budgeting process. Um, you could have maybe one of your main areas might be um, emergency fund, and you could have maybe key features would be the words, key features. Well, how many months of savings? How would you go about building an emergency fund? We've talked a little bit about that through the reading, etc. So kind of give the reader an idea, as we kind of look through these arrows. Is it what is it? What is the action that's going on here? Is it an improvement, a requirement, a need, something like that? So there you go. So going to be looking for those elements. Again, use a design process. Whether it's circles, squares, triangles, I don't care. Have fun with that, and then make sure you have these action words that are going the in that process or that relationship, that concept arrow that brings these things all together. All right. Enough of that. Let's go back to Lucid Chart. Again, Lucid Chart is a free one that I use. Plus, I can do a ton more if you're interested. So, but I think if you decide to use that, obviously use the free version. It's available on iOS. I got it on my iPad. You can even do these things on iPad, and then it just exports it into a PDF. Really nice. Okay, and easy to make your little shapes and drop your lines and arrows in there pretty easily. You can also do it in Word. So I'll bring up Word here. A little bit different, but you can do it. And you will want to go to the Insert area, Insert, and you want to go to Smart Art. You can also do it the old-fashioned. I'll show you the other way you could do it too. But Smart Art, and it has this hierarchy feature in there. So you can see you can do something like that. That looks kind of cool. Kind of do like a little hierarchy and then add more concepts as you go. A little bit harder to add the interrelationships with arrows, kind of going back and forth. But you can do that. All you would need to do is go to the shape function. Um, there we go. We just added that in there. But let's say I wanted to show a relationship between these two circles. Um, I would go up to Insert Shapes and just bring an arrow in here and kind of do something like that. So there you go. Of course, I'd want to put a little text in here. Maybe it says related or supported by or something. So you can draw arrows in there. It can be a little interesting, drawing, if you have to go at angles and such, but it definitely can be done. All right, so that's a couple ways you can do it. And you can even do old-fashioned just drawing again by we'll go back to Insert. Let me pop off here. Insert, Shapes, and then you can just inserting shapes however you want, squares, circles, whatever, and then draw your little lines and arrows in that. That's pretty easy to do. If you're familiar with Word, great. Let me go back one more comment too. This is where I guess the fun comes into this, is that you can really do this however you want. In my case, I did it top down. Notice where I had the main concept and then went down. You could go from left to right, or some students, and this is kind of cool. For this particular one, I couldn't do it, but sometimes I do this, is where I have the radiating out. So you can start with the center concept, or maybe a couple of, maybe 3 or 4 major center concepts, and then radiate out, sort of like a spider web. So those are kind of cool. Feel free to Google concept maps out there. You get some really creative and neat ideas on how they look. The important part, though, is don't spend any money for any fancy mind mapping, concept mapping software. Just use the freebies out there. There are probably a dozen that you can find the one that works for you. All right. I hope you have fun with this assignment. That's the intent. Have some fun. And by making those concepts and actually putting them on paper and kind of drawing some relationships, I think helps us learn and actually soak it in a little bit better too. So, all right, hope you have fun with this assignment. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.